Hello, everyone. Hello. Good evening. Welcome to the MBL and to tonight's Falmouth Forum. We're so excited to have such a great audience tonight. Thank you so much for coming. The Falmouth Forums have been such a wonderful intellectual community in this area for a long time, and you'll see tonight's presentation I think will fit well into that mold. I'm Melina Hale. I'm one of the interim co-directors of the Marine Biological Laboratory this year. And over the year, I've gotten to know lots of different components of the MBL. And I have to say, the MBL associates are just such a special part of our community. They contribute so much. And this is one example. We really thank them so much for taking on the leadership of the Falmouth Forum and to doing such wonderful things with this and other activities in the community. MBL will be celebrating its 130th anniversary this summer. It's an exciting time. I'll be here with my other interim co-director, Neil Shubin, and hope to have lots of opportunities to hear from you, to speak with you about what's going on at the MBL and to learn from you. We're also very excited that we've, over the last year, identified a wonderful new permanent director of the MBL, Nipam Patel, who's a professor at the University of California, Berkeley, and has a long history teaching and MBL courses during the summer and a deep love for the institution. So we'll be welcoming him to our community this summer as well. Very exciting. But now I have another welcome to make. I'm the introducer of the introducer. So I'm officially introducing Day Mount, who's MBL Associate Board Member, who will introduce our speaker for the evening. So thank you so much, Day.
Thank you very much, Melina. The MBL Associates welcome you to tonight's part of the 2017-2018 Falmouth Forum season. Each time I have the pleasure of introducing someone here, it's special and I learn something new. I realized tonight that the number of scientists and students over the course of a year that come here through Chicago MBL programs exceeds 1,200 people. There's a campus of energy and competence here, which is really exciting for those of us who are, and we don't live right here in Woods Hole, but we know we can come down here and see that and feel it. And we're very appreciative to the University of Chicago for their participation and their leadership that helps make all this happen. So if you think about the MBL, please consider making a donation to the Discovery Fund. All of the research and education here is supported by the Discovery Fund, so it will be very much appreciated. When we're thinking about special things and special people in Woods Hole, that brings us right to Beth Murphy. Beth Murphy is known to many of you. Her offices are here in Woods Hole. 3 of her films have won Best Film in our own Woods Hole Film Festival. She has a number of prestigious awards: Overseas Press Club Award, RTNDA Edward R. Murrow Award, Alfred I. DuPont Columbia University Award. The main thing about Melina's program is that it shows us the power of storytelling with a message of human rights and social justice, a message of principle. A message of principle, what a wonderful and timely thing to have tonight. So without no further ado, please welcome Beth Murphy.
Well, thank you, Day, so much. It's really wonderful to be with all of you tonight. I want to thank Nancy Bridges for helping to coordinate everything, and I'm just really thrilled to be part of the Falmouth Forum series, so thank you very, very much. I'm trying something new tonight. I've turned instead of doing a slideshow, I've turned this into a video, which is much more comfortable with the video. So I wanted to just start by sharing a little bit of my philosophy around filmmaking. So in addition to my company, Principal Pictures, which I started back in 1998, I am also now the director of films at the Ground Truth Project. And the Ground Truth Project is see, I'm so comfortable with the video that it's really going so well already. They warned me this was going to be a problem. The Ground Truth Project is a global media organization, and we have a very special interest in training and mentoring the next generation of foreign correspondents, journalists, filmmakers, and it's really exciting to be working with that team to do not only filmmaking, but also podcast production and photography work and written projects and newscasts. And so it's been, I'll share with you some of that work as we get a little bit further into the presentation. The mission that I really feel, and the mission that I carry now into all of my projects, is to produce and advocate for films that promote justice and human dignity. What this means for me is that I'm working on not just films and reports, but also on social impact campaigns, designing them and running them with every project, because ultimately filmmaking is never neutral. I don't think storytelling is neutral. I think it can either hurt or it can heal. And I'd like to use it to heal. I'd like to use it to bring people together, across divides. Every film, every story that I'm starting with, it is about the power of that story. That's always the starting point. And what I have found, and I didn't, go into filmmaking thinking this or really even being aware of it. It was something that kind of happened organically. But now as I look back over 20 something years, I realize that all of the stories really have a mission at their core. They're starting off with a mission. And because there is a mission at the core, we can really start to derive very tangible benefits from that mission and the work around that mission. And the powerful story for me comes from the people. Who are the people? Who are the characters ultimately in the film? What are they doing and why are they doing it? What motivates them? Who are they? How do we understand their work? And I realized that what I really want to do is to be able to believe in the mission of the people who are featured in the films and be able to amplify their mission, amplify their voice, amplify their work in a really meaningful way. And this is especially important because of the number of years usually that are going into these productions. And I'll give you an example. The last feature film that I did, I filmed over a period of 8 years in Afghanistan. And since that time, the last shoot for that project was in December of 2015. And I've continued to go back to Afghanistan to follow up on that story, to do other news reports, to follow up on different stories that have come about, and I'll share some of them with you tonight. And it's very clear to me that one story and the mission there, which is to educate girls, is something that I'll be working on for the rest of my life. And so, believing in not only the story, that it's a good story to tell, but that there is this core mission is something that's really critical to the work. I'm going to share with you now just a little bit of the work, so you can see this is a kind of a sampling of 3 films. So I'll show you the 3 trailers. The first is the film Beyond Belief, and that's the story of 2 women who were widowed on September 11th and begin to reach out to war widows in Afghanistan and form a pretty incredible bond and connection with them across different borders, different socioeconomic backgrounds, different languages, but really they speak the same kind of language of motherhood and widowhood. The second film that I'll show the trailer for, they'll just run back to back, is called The List, and it's the story of Iraqis who are in danger because they began to work for the US government, the US military in Iraq to help rebuild the country. So working with us as translators and drivers and cultural experts, and so many different jobs that they held. And it's their stories combined with stories and efforts of a young American guy who was trying to get them to safety because of that affiliation they had with us. They were being really hunted down and considered traitors in their own country. And the final trailer that you'll see is for the film What Tomorrow Brings that I just shared a little bit about. It's the story of the first girls' school in one little village in Afghanistan.
The very first thing Ben ever wrote was this: "Why did my dad die?" That was the first thing he ever wrote down.
The Federal Aviation Administration has shut down air traffic nationwide for the first time.
There's no word on whether the crashes might have been some sort of act of terrorism.
It's a beautiful day. There's not a cloud in the sky.
The immediate connection was we were both pregnant and our husbands were just murdered. Immediate connection.
I'm so lonely. I can't believe that I'm this person. We're leaving Ground Zero right now, headed up to Boston, 3 days, 250 miles.
You suffered a devastating personal loss. How did you find it in yourself to do this?
It is about surviving.
We have choices and we can create our own future and destiny.
I have tried to turn this into something other than hatred.
And we are just speculating at this point that Osama bin Laden is the person. Islamist terrorist phenomenon is a very serious one.
It was clear to anybody who knew Afghanistan that it was going to be a target.
I did feel, oh my goodness, people are going to be killed as a result of this, and there's going to be more of us, there are going to be more widows. I just could not imagine living in Afghanistan and having had the same thing happen to me.
I want to commit to helping these families get whole. I can't commit to always being the widow.
Why aren't you supporting U.S. troops, or why aren't you supporting policemen or firemen?
We cannot pretend that the problems and the rest of the world doesn't affect us. We can't live in our little plastic bubble here.
My first thought was I was nervous because of the kids, and my second thought was we don't need any more losses.
I think we didn't get killed.
This is crazy. They're targeting aid workers.
I think it's going to be another life-changing experience.
We will tell your stories when we go home, and we will let people know. And we will continue to help support you. We will continue to work hard.
I don't want to live that day the rest of my life. I want to move beyond that.
I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of running away. This shouldn't have happened to me or to the majority of Iraqi people running away from their country.
There was an implicit bargain. You come to work with us, we'll take care of you. You run these risks for us, we'll watch out for you.
We were very proud. We were showing out our badges. Look, we are working with Americans. It's very good work. They are very nice people.
These are Iraqis who sat with Americans and helped us try to rebuild Iraq.
I was told that your future will be safe with us, we will be protected, and we discovered that actually that wasn't the whole truth.
These Iraqis are not dying for Iraq. They're dying because they're coming to work for our country. They're dying for America.
Day after day, we start to hear about people being slaughtered and being abducted for working for the US government.
A young American named Kirk Johnson, who served in USAID in Fallujah, has taken it upon himself to find every Iraqi who has worked for USAID.
There's 1,000 names sitting in front of you right now, and of the 1,000 names, only 40 have been processed. Could you explain that?
How many more Iraqis are going to have to die until they respond to this?
In the first days, we didn't feel that this list was leading anywhere, but this list is actually something, and more people are taking it seriously.
Great to see you too.
I've been doing this for a year, and we've gotten around 30 people in. Tens of thousands need the same help.
My concern is if the American troops go out this country, what will happen for somebody like me
You know, something I remember that I really like, it's a quote from Mother Teresa. You know what she said? She said, the opposite of love is not hate, but indifference.
سال گذشته یونایتد نیشن گزارش داده است که بیشتر از 100 حمله بر روی تحصیل دختران صورت گرفته است.
When I opened the school, the first year was very tough.
که شامل آتش زدن مدارس، حمله‌های انتحاری، اسد پاشیدن روی دختران و همچنین آلوده کردن آب‌های آشامیدنی مدارس.
Some men came inside and said, please make it into a boys' school because the boys are the backbone of Afghanistan. And I said, well, you know that the women are eyesight of Afghanistan, and unfortunately you all are blind.
قبول کردم گفتم که خیر است ما بر قسم شد درس خواب گوش میدم.
My name is Zakia, my father name.
من طرفشان کردم سنای دیگر بود. کاکایم طرف ما کرد که حال تو عروس ما شدی نمیتونی مکتب بری. استاد کل امید داریم که از فقط از اون تنگی که مادر میخوام کل امید است دروازه مکتب است که مکای مکتب خدا خلاص میکنه بتم.
ما با این امید دارم. I wanted to look in their eyes and say that you have to make a change. Trust that yes, our girls can get educated. We can make a better life.
So the core mission that I talked about, each one of these films really does have that, and because of that, after production, during production, I'm able to think about what would be a good thing to leave behind. We don't just want to go in and take the story out, but leave something positive. And so it was interesting in all of these cases to sort of think that through. And I've begun designing impact campaigns earlier on in the production process. Each time it gets a little bit earlier and earlier and earlier. And so with the film Beyond Belief, what we noticed was that for the women who had been widowed in Afghanistan, and actually for all women in Afghanistan, the depression rates are enormously high, upwards of 85 to 90%. And that's especially true for widows because they're so isolated. There's so much social isolation. They really can't leave the homes. They couldn't work outside the home. They really couldn't do anything without a man in their life. And were they to think about getting remarried and they had children, they would have to leave the children with the husband's families, which was just this kind of unconscionable choice to have to even think about making. And so we thought about ways that we might be able to help kind of, break down some of that social isolation. And we worked to build the first women's center in the country. And it was a place where the women could go and they could congregate, and they were also, they were working together. They were weaving carpets together, and it was kind of a large space so they could weave very large carpets. And everyone who participated in this program, they had to really sign a contract. And so the kids had to go to school because having the kids work on helping to weave the carpets, child labor is very common. And we wanted to make sure that kids would be able to go to school. And so that was a very, again, just kind of a very tangible, outcome. And the way that we participated in that movement was to basically take the film on the road and do fundraising screenings. And we ended up raising about $50,000 through those fundraising screenings that then was donated to build the Women's Center. And so that was more recently the latest film, What Tomorrow Brings. the Impact campaign was really focused to continue this mission of girls' education. And what happened was, when the school opened, it was a K-4 school, and then every year, adding a grade, until finally it's the year of the first high school graduation, which was phenomenally exciting. And all of the girls who were graduating expressed that, yeah, they wanted to go on to college, but it really didn't seem like it would be possible for so many reasons. Either, they didn't have the money to pay to go into Kabul, to one of the universities there. They really didn't have any transportation to get there, even if they had the money. And for the most part, the families weren't really that enthusiastic about letting the daughters leave the village. And so we wanted to know from the village elders if we were able to build a college for women right there in their own backyard, is that something that they would support? And remember, these were village elders who, about 7-8 years earlier, never even wanted a girls' school in the village. They'd never sent their daughters to school before, and they really, if a school was going to be built, they wanted it to be a boys' school. And when we met with them to ask them if they would support a women's college, they were really enthusiastic, which was great. And very quickly, we mobilized, and I started. The Impact campaign was called Build a School Today, and it was a crowdfunding campaign. And within about 7 weeks, we raised $125,000. And a few weeks after that, Razia, the school founder, and I were back in Afghanistan for the groundbreaking, which was really exciting. And the school, it just opened again in March for the second year. So there's a second class of young women who are studying to become midwives. And this is one of the young women. She's opening up, the U.S. State Department donated about 50 laptop computers to the school, and she's opening up one of the new computers that they can use. And they're already doing internships. I was just back in Afghanistan in December, and I was able to see the girls at the local health clinic doing their internships, and they were all very excited, especially about giving people shots. They really seemed to enjoy that, and as their favorite part. They were also working at a hospital where I wasn't able to go with them to the hospital. I tried, but we were just a little worried that there might be some sort of backlash that would be negative for them, and we didn't want that. So I didn't go to the hospital, but there are also working at hospitals and assisting in live births, which is really exciting. As this work kind of continues, I really come to appreciate how important all of these things are: research, advocacy, and the value of really strong partnerships. For research, we ask the question, can documentary films change knowledge? Can they change attitude? Is it possible that they could change behavior? And, as the title of tonight's program suggests, Inspiration for Action, what gets me really excited about community documentary screenings is the potential for kind of a shared, getting on the same page with a shared mission and maybe being able to take some action. So this question is sort of really the fundamental, question about the work, and the really fast answer is yes. And I only know this, it's something that I believed for so long in my heart that it is possible, but how do you, where's the evidence? And what's really incredible is that over the past 5 years, ITVS, which is an independent funding arm of the public television system, they have had a program called Women and Girls Lead. And I'm very happy to say that the What Tomorrow Brings film was a part of the Women and Girls Lead series. And we did a lot of work in 5 different countries, in Bangladesh, Kenya, Peru, where else were we? India, Bangladesh, Jordan, Kenya, and Peru were the 5 countries. 35 films, What Tomorrow Brings being one of them. There were 45,000 people who participated, and they tracked dozens of change indicators over these years. And what they found ultimately is that documentary film can actually make lives measurably better for women and girls. And the way that they conducted this research was to do three different documentary screenings linked thematically. And they trained NGO workers and other community leaders with ways to really, work with the community after screenings to work toward a common goal. And one of those goals, and the way that What Tomorrow Brings specifically was used, was to try to keep girls in school and out of child marriages. And here's what happened in Bangladesh. So this, it is interesting that this is the most extensive study using documentary film and looking at global development. So in Bangladesh, so this was the goal, keeping girls in high school. So after 2 years of running this program, in the schools where they were running this program, the child marriage rate dropped by 75%, which was kind of a remarkable thing to be able to document. So that's on the research side, and that's very new research. That research study just came out less than a month ago, and so I'm happy to be able to, it's the first time I've been able to share it publicly. The second important thing after research is advocacy, and how we do that. And for me, it really has come down to building really strong partnerships. And so, for example, I'll just pick one here. I'll pick the Brookings Institution. So the Brookings Institution, I've been working with them now for about a year. And one of the things that happened after the end of the filming in Afghanistan for the documentary is that as it was kind of wrapping up the filming, I realized that it's already a very poor community, but seemed to be getting even more poor. And there seemed to be more need, fewer girls showing up with winter coats in winter, more girls showing up at school without socks or shoes. And what was happening is that the drought in the community was really devastating for the fathers, most of whom were farmers, and their incomes were going down anywhere from 75 to 85%. So massive decline in income. And around the same time, I was getting started at the Ground Truth Project, and we'd been doing a lot of work on climate change and the human impacts of climate change. And we were trying to find a particular, a unique angle for a film series. And we decided that something that really needed to be examined was the impact of climate change on women and children. And so I thought, oh my gosh, here in this community, like this climate-induced drought is causing this, really great need. Well, at the same time, something actually kind of remarkable was happening, because in some families, because the girls were educated and they were now getting jobs, they were stepping in and supporting the families. And so we decided that this would be one of the films in the series looking at the connection between girls' education, climate change, and extremism. It hasn't come out yet. I've delivered it'll be on PBS NewsHour sometime probably over the next month. In addition to the filming, I partnered with the Brookings Institution to really track what was happening with the drought in many more families than we could ever possibly capture with the filming. And together we came up with a questionnaire. And with all I mentioned at the Ground Truth Project, this very unique interest in training and mentoring and our commitment to doing that. And so for all of the films that I'm working on, I'm bringing on film fellows. And depending on the project, the role of the fellow varies. So in this case, the fellow that was brought on was someone from the community, a young man who had, really good network in really good networks throughout the community. And he went door to door and he did, did this survey with the families. And so the Brookings Institution will be able to use this data in an upcoming report, and we'll be able to hopefully have some influencer panels and things like that, and use it in combination with the screenings to be able to affect change, especially in global development, where right now, things are very siloed. It's girls' education, climate change, and what we're arguing is that in fact, they shouldn't be siloed, and these things should be brought together and looked at together, and that it's important to do so. So that's just one example of something that's happening in the advocacy realm, but it's not something that I could really could do alone, or that filmmakers can do alone. We really need to have partners for that. Another kind of partnership that we have are with the distribution networks. Where's the work going? Who's going to see it and how? And so these are just some of the partnerships that we have, and some places that the work goes. And again, I think that you can kind of see the range of things. For example, the first trailer that you saw for Beyond Belief, that film aired on the Sundance Channel. The second film, The List, was on PBS. What Tomorrow Brings, also on PBS as part of the POV series. But in an effort to try to get stories out to as many people as possible and really try to meet audiences where they are, you might not watch PBS POV. Maybe you are online on the New York Times and would watch an op doc that's a lot shorter. So we've done a number of op docs, cut down from a longer film, or we'll do things with PRI The World and make podcasts and really it's a multimedia world now. And so with the content that we have, it's kind of exciting to think about all the different places that it can go and the many different ways that it can reach people. Right now, this is something new for me. Others at the Ground Truth Project have worked with Time Magazine before, but this is my first time doing so. And as part of the filming that I was doing in December around climate change and girls' education and extremism, I also traveled to Herat and wanted to focus on something that thematically is tied to the previous work that I've done, women's rights, girls' education, but took a little bit of a different look at things. And I was really fascinated when I came across the story of this woman who she had set herself on fire in order to escape a bad marriage, it's a horrible situation that she is in and continues to be in. What was so interesting to me about her case was that there were so many women in the community kind of rallying around her to try to help her, women who had been educated, who were now in more of a position of power, who could kind of step in to try to help her. And so that is the focus of the Time piece. It's not out yet. I have, other than a couple people in my family, I don't think anyone else has really seen this except for people, the editors. But I wanted to share this piece with you today.
I cannot be strong. خیلی درد میکنه. یک بار نیپو بردم نی زنده موندم.
زیاده چه جنگ میکرده آقا تلخی
all the time the violence against women are from the men. But the other issue is that when a woman has problem, it will be better to speak with a woman.
اما دوستی اینار بده؟ خدیجه خوبی؟ دست میدی خود من؟ خوبی؟ خب چه قسم دوا خود گرفته کمک میکنه خود شما؟ دیده 2 دفعه تا حال اتفاق به بخش ما افتیده. مریضی داشتم به نام زهرا، از خاطر شوهر سوختاند خورد، سرم باق رفته بود و مریض داید شد. خب در حالی که شوهر انکار میکرد، من خواستم گفتم شوهر خانم شما ممکن فوت کنن، میگفت الحمدلله هر چیزی که هست از طرف خداه. خب طبیعیه دیگه مردای افغان قدر که باید بره خواهی خانم.
گرفته تیل از زیر خالی کرده در قسمت سینه خود، گوگل از زیر دامان خود گرفته تا درد داده. یک مرضیان بود رفته بیرون افتاده دیگه چپه شده. این بچه خودش چیز زد یا یاسین؟ خودش چیز زده. خودش کی چیز زده این خسته. یاسین دویده کدی دستای خود، دستای یاسین هم سوخته بود. کدی دست خود تکره کالا را. خب کالای جون آدم هم میچسبانه. کلش استراتژیست نه. فهمیدی یک
من صدا رو شنید گفتم آخر
یکی چی قضا شنید که می اومد اینی سمومو تاو داشت مچ ما یخ داشت اینو گرفت دادم سرش خالی کرد.
مصاحبه داشتم اصلا نتونستم اشک خود کنترل کنم، چون شبایی که اونا میاین من یک خانم خیلی تحت فشار قرار میگیرم.
سخت میشه خیلی جمعه.
یک بچه مایم به خونه دارم 20 سال میشه عروسی کردم. چی ما را آزاد کنی بچه خور میبینی، اگه نکردی دیگه میگه بچه خور بخواه ببینی ما تو سوخترم به کار نداریم.
خوشو میگه
تو سوخته شدی تپه تپی، تو دیگه به درد ما نمیخوری.
یار جزا ما راضی نیم به جزا خوب بشم برم سر خونه زندگی خودش مشکل ندارم اینا. خود نظم وقت راضی باشم.
شما میخوایم که طلاق از او بگیریم، یعنی اگر طلاق بگیریم قانون بچه شما رو به خود شما میده. قانون بچه رو برای خود شما میده تا 7 سالگی.
برشان آورده نمیگه گفت باشه پیشتر خدیجه زنگ زد که تلفن گپ زدم خوب شد که خودت هم گپ زدی. بله
I never say that he is innocent.
بابا گز پیره، مادر من بوم مرده، کجا برم چه کار کنم؟
خب اینجا شلتر هست، شلترهای هست که پناهگاه همونجا شما میتونیم که آموزش ببینیم، هم خیاطی یاد بگیریم، هم سواد شاید داشته باشیم شما، هم میتونیم که اونجا زندگی کنیم. بچه شما رو هم به پیش شما میگذارم، بچه هم صاحب تعلیم و تربیه میشه.
از یکی از مشکلات مردم افغانستان ما خبر شدم. اما دیگه خود جواب جریان نمیبینیم. این قضیه چند سال پیش کردن ظلم ظالم هنوز خلاص نشده. نمیفهمم که این زنم که افغانستان میتونم با خوشی زندگی کنم، وظیفه داشته باشم.
when some people be real human, they can't bear, they can't listen, they can't look when a woman is under violence.
The women's rights activist, Hasina, she does a lot of training out in the villages with women to teach them about their rights. And she's planning to use the video when she goes into the field as she works with women. And so we're starting a program with her to be able to do that. With the film, partially as it is, we'll be cutting it down and making, we're working with her to identify, different clips and things that she'd like to use as trigger clips for conversations with women and their families and their parents in particular. So one of the things I've talked a little bit about is the training, and the reason that this has become really, so important to the work that I'm doing with documentary filmmaking is that the training really helps to build agency and upholds dignity. And so many times, there's this sense when you're storytelling that, you are telling the story of someone else. And as much as possible, I really want for people to be able to tell their own stories. And so it's one of the reasons why my films are all verite, and I try not to have narration in them. But the reality is, in order for people to really tell their own stories, they have to have the tools to be able to do that. And so they need to be able to, have the writing skills, have the photography skills, have the filmmaking skills, have the podcast and audio production skills. And this is this new film called Camera Kids that I'm working on, this film and impact campaign, ties kind of all of this together in a way that no other project has before. So you see the people in the picture here. These are some of the camera kids, and this I came across about 2 years ago. A photographer friend of mine was teaching a workshop in Kenya, and he met these guys, these young Rwandan guys who were there for the workshop, and they shared their story with him. They had been orphaned during the genocide, and in the orphanage where they were raised when they were really little, like 8, 9, 10 years old, they learned photography. A photographer from the US came in with disposable cameras and then, kind of stayed, kept going back and year after year. And their photography became really prolific. So much so that they became known as the Camera Kids. This was their, youth identity, was being the Camera Kids. And they loved photography, and being able to tell their story, really, they found a lot of healing in that, and they really felt empowered by that. And they went on to win, with their disposable camera pictures, they were winning some international awards against, professional cameramen and women who, were using the most expensive cameras out there. And now that they've, grown up, there are 3 of them, there were 19 camera kids, 3 of them now are professional photographers. And they've decided that they really want to pay it forward in the world, and they really want to teach photography to vulnerable kids today around the world who are like them and share the same kind of backstory that they have. And in doing this, it's about the photography, but it's equally about trying to build a global family and really unite all these kind of, brothers and sisters around the world. So I love their mission, and I was so excited when my friend introduced me to them, because they were voicing that they wanted to kind of move beyond photography and get in and learn some video production skills, dabble in filmmaking. They specifically wanted to make a short film about their mother, Roz Carr, the woman who started the orphanage where they were raised. And so it started off as just kind of a simple conversation about helping them a little bit, has become really the next big feature film and social impact project And I'm now trying to help them organize their photography workshops. The organization that taught them photography is called Through the Eyes of Children, and they are now helping to run that organization, which is really exciting. And I just want to share with you a short trailer for this project.
When I think of the people who killed my parents, I think of how they destroyed the relationships I would have had with my parents.
icyo urumva deja icyambere kiduhuje nuko twese icyambere kiduhuje nuko twese twabaye orphelin twabaye imfubyi kubera intambara.
What I strive about is like thinking about the future, not even the horrible past.
People around the world impression about Rwanda was the fighting, the killings, and the picture we captured after that wasn't killings, it was life. It was people building themselves.
This premiere exhibit is the first exhibit of the children's work, and we thought it was important to show everyone in Rwanda just what our children are capable of when they're given an opportunity.
Even my first shoots was blur, but I feel happy somehow. Yeah.
I've learned that photography is a tool for change.
When I was in the refugee camp, no one could see me. So I photographed street children, people suffering. Not only focus on that to show those people suffering, but also to raise awareness. People out here suffering. Please help, please help.
And we thought, why can't we give back? And we thought the best way to give back was to think of the children who are going like similar situations that we went through. I think photography is a great tool to heal people's hearts.
We serve 12,000 families, and we have a lot of young kids from very young age to 21 who actually live with us.
Oh.
And I think a lot of them would be very impressed to meet you.
They're like my brothers, they're like my sisters and brothers whom I have to care about.
Kwiyubaka mu bihe nk'ibyo ngibyo. Iyo wibuka burya uriyubaka.
Aribo bagomba kwiyubaka, aribo bagomba kwizanira amahoro. Noneho bagomba kubikora bakoresheje amafoto.
If I hear there's no siblings, there's no parents, there's no father or mother, I feel like I'm that one. I stand for them today.
That's why we chose mostly vulnerable people.
Yes.
Yeah.
You hit on something we talk about a lot here at the home, and that's the notion of hope. And that when you have hope, coupled with resiliency, and you can see what's possible, that is a powerful thing.
We lived in the same life, and they're still there. I'm the one who have to teach them to have hope for their future.
I want them to know that as a child, you still have something you can share with the world.
Yeah, so this film is all about seeing the world through the eyes of children. The Save the Children came out with a really devastating report recently that just talked about how many kids today are living in conflict, and it's more than at any time since World War II. And I think that, as devastating as that fact is, it really is, they really hold the most hope for the future. And so with this project, we really want to reach out across many different borders and begin to really, as I said, see the world through their eyes. Some of you I know who are in the audience tonight were able to meet Gadi, Musa, and Bizamana when they were here on the Cape in November, which was really exciting to have them here. And they'll be back this summer, so I think we'll probably have other opportunities to get everyone together and do something in a more public forum. And they'll be here because their very first photography workshops that they'll be running outside of Rwanda will be with foster children here in Massachusetts. So I'll be able to keep everybody up to date on that progress. And, I just know that this is, again, is a project that I know I'll be working on probably for the rest of my life. And their mission and their work is definitely a mission and work that I want to amplify. So thank you all so much. I'd love to open it up for questions from the audience.
Thank you. How many projects are you working on at one time?
That's a great question. There are a number of projects. Different things are in different stages of production. So, for example, right now I'm working on a couple of projects still that are part of that short film series that I mentioned that look at the impact of climate change on women and children. In addition to the PBS NewsHour piece on Afghanistan, girls' education, climate change, extremism. I'm also making a short film for film festival distribution, so more verite film. So the NewsHour piece is it's a narrated news piece, and I'm cutting something quite different stylistically for film festivals. So that's one project. I'm also, as part of that series, making a film about Zika in Puerto Rico, and was just back in Puerto Rico last month to finalize the filming for that. And so that's something that's right now in post-production. Another film that's in post-production is a feature-length film called The Son of Fukushima. And it's a really long-term project. I filmed in Fukushima for over 5 years. And it's the story of one Japanese farming family that was displaced because of the nuclear radiation, and they also have a link to Hiroshima. There's a Hiroshima survivor in the family, and so we're really trying to connect these events and look at the nuclear legacy in the country. And it's a very personal, intimate story of this farming family. And one of the things I'm excited about with this film is that it combines both live action and animation. It's my first film with animation, which has been a lot of fun. We're working with an animator in Germany.
What were some of your earlier experiences that brought you to filmmaking, especially as a woman, and what has made you as brave as you are?
I started in radio news. I worked in radio and television news, and I realized I was working in local news, but I had studied international relations and international communications, and I thought I wanted to become a foreign correspondent, was kind of where I thought I was headed. And I think became pretty disillusioned by local news and, kind of ambulance chasing feeling, and really started to, I read a book at that time as I was kind of ending my career in local news, and the book was called Compassion Fatigue. And it was a book that was really focused on humanitarian workers, and that it's a phrase that comes out of the humanitarian worker world, that when you're kind of, confronted with, this daily onslaught of negative images and large numbers of people suffering, you can't handle it. And so you kind of tune out, and so you feel compassion fatigue. And I think that a lot of news coverage can create in viewers that sense of compassion fatigue. And I didn't like that feeling myself. And I definitely felt like I didn't want to contribute to that feeling.
I wonder if you could tell us if
you are able to show your film about the school in Afghanistan in other villages. How can that film be used to spread the word of the wonder of schools for girls in the entire country?
Throughout Afghanistan?
Yes.
So I've really let the school and the school founder take the lead on how and where we can show it in the country, because it's still, it's very, very unstable right now, and actually becoming, more unstable kind of by the day. We had, obviously a very, devastating thing happened just this week. 9 journalists killed in Kabul. And so what we have been able to do is to show it in, settings that we feel are safe. So we've shown it at a number of embassies. We just had another, when I was there in December, we had another embassy screening, and it was used as a fundraiser, which was great. It's also, it's nice for, it's interesting. A lot of investments from governments around education in Afghanistan are done with, for very big, huge projects. And, this is one school. One school is having an incredible impact, and this is the 10-year anniversary of the school. And within 4 or 5 years, it was considered, the Ministry of Education named it the best private school in the country. It's the only free private school in the country. And so there are all these accolades, and yet it's still very, very challenging to get funding. If the founder were to say, okay, we're going to take this model and we're going to open up in 30 other villages, then who knows, maybe the funding would come rushing in. But she doesn't want to do that because she can't. Part of what keeps this quality control is her presence and really being able to run it in the best way possible. So when we have these screenings in those settings, it's a nice opportunity to be able to show success and show growth. And Afghanistan isn't a place where success is celebrated a lot. So, but we have not taken it, out to a kind of general audience. And there is fear that if we were to do that, that the school could become a target.
How do you fund the production of these films?
Blood, sweat, tears. I should sell a kidney one day. That would do it. Now, it's really challenging. I do a ton of grant writing. It's really one of the most challenging aspects of the work. And it's a frustrating aspect of the work. Over the years, I've done a lot of corporate work in order to help, pay for the projects like this that I want to be working on. I'll give you an example. Beyond Belief was pretty much completely unfunded, and I received a $5,000 finishing grant from Women in Film for the edit. But that was, the budget for that was over $300,000. So it's really challenging. So, but the corporate work over the years has helped. But of course, that takes time, and that's travel, and that's time. It's editing time. It's shooting time. So it's time that ultimately can't be spent working on these other projects. So it's definitely a balancing act. We've been fortunate over the years to get some really good support. ITVS that I mentioned has supported two of the films. There are a number of documentary funding organizations that have been repeat funders of my work, so I feel very fortunate. And oftentimes, grant organizations like that don't give a lot of money. It might be $10,000, $15,000, or $20,000, but by doing so, they kind of send a signal to other organizations like, okay, this is a good film to support. With the short film series I mentioned about climate change and women and children, we were very fortunate to get a grant from the Packard Foundation for that work. So it's really, most often project by project funding. With Camera Kids, for example, we just received a small grant from a Boston-based organization that is very interested in our work specifically in Boston with the foster kids and the photography training that will happen there. And I didn't mention this, but part of what we're doing is all of the communities where the Camera Kids are coming in and teaching photography, We then, from the Ground Truth Project, will come in and teach video training and also podcast production, so that these kids, around the world will really be armed with the information, that they need, and have the tools to be able to tell their own story. We're very fortunate that Amazon has just donated about 100 tablets. So at least for the first year of the project and the training, all the kids who are involved will be outfitted with those, and we'll be able to connect them, through social media, which I think will be exciting. Yeah, but if you guys have any funding ideas, please, I will be more than happy to talk with you after.
I just have one quick question. Yeah. I'm just fascinated by the idea of these 3 young boys coming here. How do they feel about coming to the United States to share their enthusiasm? They love it. I think it's what was so special for them to come here is that their mom, Roz Carr, she's American. So for them, their mom is American. And so they loved coming here and, seeing a little bit of where she was from. Her sister actually lived in Chatham for many years. Some very interesting Rwanda connections. Very, I'll try to tell this really quickly, but my husband Dennis and daughter Isabel were in the best Christmas pageant ever this winter at Highfield. And so I had gotten there early, one of their shows, and I was seated in the middle of a row, and in comes this woman with her family, and we had met before, and she recognized me, and she had done a lot of work in Rwanda. Maybe some of you know her, Katie Bush, worked with guerrillas in Rwanda. And she actually knew Roz, and she knew she had been to the orphanage, and it was just kind of unbelievable. And she said, in fact, my parents, who are here visiting from London, they actually sponsored someone at the orphanage, a boy at the orphanage. And we're like, oh wow, who is it? And she couldn't remember her name. Her parents, there they are, also in the theater. I meet her parents. I'm telling them about the film, and the guys, they sponsored Bizimana, and they put him through school. It's just unbelievable. So I'm finding that there's something about this film that's so special. My sister was running, she lives in Fairfield, Connecticut. She was running with a friend of hers that they're on the running club together. And this was in November. And my sister was talking about how I had, these 3 Rwandan guys staying with me. And she said, wow, that's so weird. This woman that I work with in New York, she has 3 Rwandans staying with her too. So we're like, that is so weird. Well, after the guys left Cape Cod, they went to Greenwich, Connecticut, and one of the women who runs the Through the Eyes of Children organization, they went to stay with her, and this is the co-worker of my sister's running buddy, and just like, so there's something special here for sure. Well, thank you so much, Beth. Those are wonderful connections.